kind of think you need a little bit of a higher purpose, help people. And I think Crossroads does a good job of that.
You feel, that you've done good for the day, that trying to make somebody's life a little bit better.
If everybody along the route can do a little bit, it adds up to being a lot.
Come on out, Joseph. Yeah, you want your coffee, don't you? You still drink coffee?
Yes, I almost brought it in my Pewabic mug.
Aw.
But then I thought I could bring coffee to Colleen, which is always nice. Good morning, everybody.
Morning. Welcome back.
Ah, here you are. Here I am. Yes, and the introverted me just loves sitting in front of people and being in videos. But
Yeah. Well, welcome. What a wonderful experience you've been on.
Yes.
These past 3 years.
Yes.
Yeah. Well done.
Thanks.
So just this is a chance for us to kind of dig into Crossroads. What it's doing, what you're experiencing, what you've learned, so that we can be better neighbors to one another, and particularly to our friends and neighbors in Detroit. It's easy for us to kind of depersonalize the realities of life in Detroit, and you bring a personal experience in a way that many of us won't get. And so I hope that this gives us a chance to kind of really unpack your experience. Now, so with that as kind of a lead-in, you've had 2 roles at Crossroads over this period of time. You've kind of ran the daily operation, which I suspect kind of really put you kind of front and center in the work of Crossroads. And then about, 6 months ago, right? You were appointed interim executive director and now executive director. So kudos on all of that movement. Yeah. Well, you've got friends that are rooting for you and have been watching and just delighted to see. So I'm going to start, I want to go back a little bit. And what drew you to Crossroads? And what surprised you when you kind of really dug in and got to Crossroads? What were some of the insights and experiences that surprised you? So, yeah.
Thanks for that fantastic introduction. It is really cool to be back in this room and to see the subtle changes. The labyrinth is beautiful. It's so cool. And to see so many faces, and I think I got most of the youth correct. A lot happens in their lives in 3 years. What drew you to Crossroads? What drew me to Crossroads? At its core, I was drawn to Crossroads because I was ready to give back to the world, to make a tangible difference in people's lives. I loved my experience here at Christ Church and what I was able to do. The intersection of liturgy and music and religion and all of that. But I found myself craving more. I was newly graduated with a degree in leadership, and Crossroads presented an opportunity to really put that degree to use. It was a stretch position, as you said, Father Drew. I went to do operations, and so I arrived. I had a staff of 15, and I spent my first 2 weeks talking to everybody. I decided the best thing I could do would be to learn, and so I had a meeting with every staff member, and they all got the same questions. What is the greatest thing about working at Crossroads? What is the one thing that you would change about Crossroads? And what is the one thing that no one else is going to tell me that I need to know? And the first couple of questions, or first couple of employees were stilted. I was an unknown entity, and so on about day 3, the first 2 staff members came back and said, Joseph, can I do my interview again? And I said, sure, yeah, what do you want to talk about? And what I learned in that experience was we were building trust. I really wanted to know the answers to those questions, particularly what's hidden under rugs? Where are the skeletons? What are the big problems? And what I learned was that Crossroads was experiencing mission creep. Father McLaren set out to help people in Detroit. It started at the cathedral at a card table. A person without ID said, Father McLaren, can you help me get an ID? And they sat down and boom, that was Crossroads. And when I got there 3 years ago, that was still happening. But Crossroads' focus was beginning to shift into how do we solve poverty? Really cool strategic questions, but pulling focus from the everyday. And that's what drew me. I wanted to go help people. And so learning about that and then engaging with stakeholders and my colleagues, the question is, why does poverty still exist? It's a great question, right? How have we as a society not figured out how to solve poverty? The conundrum is haves and have-nots are a natural byproduct of capitalism. It's just the way the system is. And instead of me trying to knock down that whole system, I can help bridge that. I can take pressure off the have-nots. We can redistribute some of that, and we can make the system a little easier for everybody. The haves have a way to share resources, to share their bounty, and the have-nots have a place to come to receive those. And so my time at Crossroads has been about that, refocusing us on the everyday client experience. Those big questions about poverty and all of that still exist, but they're not our primary focus. Our primary focus is making sure that what we do every day is exemplary and that we meet every client by name, that while they're in our building, they're greeted by name. It's all a human process. If I may, when I first got there, I was just watching. And if you've never been to Crossroads, it's an old Detroit city building, big empty space, and you come in the door and you're in what we call our lobby. It's institutional gray, or at the time it was institutional gray, double ceiling high, and white folding chairs circled the room, and everyone came in. You have to get buzzed in, and you sit and you play on your phone. And when it's time for someone to see you, someone at the top of the stairs screams your name, and you go up these stairs. I've never been inside a prison waiting room, but this is what I imagine it's like, right? It's uncomfortable, and so we got a grant from an organization that does capital improvements, tangible things, and so we were able to invest money. We painted. We have this beautiful color scheme now. We put couches in. Thank you to Kate Adams, who works at DTE Property Disposition. Gently used furniture is my best friend. And so now we have couches and we have rugs and we have some fake plants. And so now people come in to a waiting room. We have signs with our Wi-Fi login up on the wall, right? We've added extra plugs because if you live on the street, you don't have a place to charge your phone. So come in, take a load off. We have TVs on the wall. And now when it's time for your appointment, a client person comes down to the lobby and asks for you, right? That first step to shared dignity, that's what we do. In the course of the 3 years, I learned a lot. I made lots of contacts with our partner agencies and got to learn about navigating poverty on a large scale. We give out food during the week. We have a food pantry. So I have sat with Gleaner's Food Pantry and learned all about USDA regulations and the disconnect between what you and I would consider a nice, healthy meal and what the government defines as a nice, healthy meal. And that has spurred some great conversations with our volunteers when they're down there serving food, and how we're able to move from split pea soup and a bologna sandwich, which meets the government regulation for a healthy meal. Today, Christchurch is serving baked chicken quarters, rice pilaf, steamed vegetables, chocolate chip cookies, and a banana. It's, when you show up to Crossroads now, that's a Sunday meal. That's my thing. And I was talking to Richard on the way in about being from Texas. And Texas is the Southern Sunday meal. Everyone comes together. It's the big meal. It's a family time. And so working with Chef Mariah, that many of us know from her work with Brian Abner Culinary, she's now our executive chef, and we've worked together to turn it into a dining room and to have it as a Sunday meal program. We don't call it a soup kitchen anymore as much as we can, because soup kitchens have negative connotations and things like that. There's always going to be soup kitchen talk, it's okay, because that's what we do. But we're trying to shift that message, that this is a Sunday meal. We are the dining room that 300 to 400 people don't have. And so we let them come in. We've put round tables. I'm bringing my Christchurch learnings, right? How do we make pods? How do we encourage people to sit together? We've got TVs up, so during the fall, there are sports on the TV. There are Westerns. Who knew? That might be the biggest thing I learned, is that in the African-American community, old black and white Westerns, always a hit. So, and then this last year, getting to transition into interim executive director, with talking with the board recognizing that mission creep. How do I say, that mission creep was beginning to affect all aspects of our operation. Donors were kind of drifting away a little bit, as you said, that we weren't being as good of friends, because these long-standing relationships that were rooted in tangible impact were starting to wander just a little bit. And so the board approached me and asked if I would head up a very clear directive. Father McLaren's original mission was love and go where love demands. And that's what we've been doing. When I took over the interim position, working with Colleen and Ross, the co-chairs, we had 3 triggers that had to be met before we could even talk about a full executive director. The first was that Crossroads had reached a financial brink. And so I was given a budget and said, you have to make this work. And on day 1, we had funding to get us through August 1st. And it's not like just soft funding. It was like on August 1st, we turned the lights out. And so I sat down and I gave up half my salary, because half my salary was a name on that spreadsheet. And I could let someone go, or I could tap into the privilege that I have. And I'm very lucky that I can do that. And I share that because that was a condition of my doing that. Colleen knows me well and said, we'll let you do this sacrifice, but you have to name it. You can't do it quietly. And so that was the first trigger, was that the organization had to be back in a position where they could fund an executive director at an executive director's salary. The second piece was that a number of staff members voluntarily gave up hours to help ease all of that. And so the second trigger was that we had to return all of the hourly employees back to full pay and their back pay that they had given up. And then the third piece was that the Board of Trustees and I had to enter into a mutual arrangement where they would become much more active in the support of the organization. As you all know, an active vestry that is walking and talking the talk is paramount to success. And a hands-off group just can't, we didn't need that. And so the trustees are going through a bit of a culture shift with, that, and, like, I can't do this alone, everybody. And so that is my long story of how I got there to try to make the world a better place. And now I laughed with Scott. He said, "Congratulations on your promotion." And I said, there are days I'm so excited, and then there are days where I'm like, what am I doing? Which I'm told is just life.
So I want to go back to Father McLaren's mission statement. What a beautiful statement. Go where love takes you. Demands. Thank you. So today, and we got a little taste of it through the video, but let's lean into that for a minute or two. Where is love taking Crossroads? Where does it demand that we pay attention to it and to our neighbors? So what are another way to say that is, what are we doing? What's at the heart of life today at Crossroads as a ministry?
The heart of Crossroads is re-engaging volunteers and re-engaging our partners. There are two sides of our marketing. One is the client-facing, making sure our clients know what we do. That part is really easy because we see clients tell friends, and so we don't. When people ask, how do people know what Crossroads is? Everybody knows what Crossroads is on that side through word of mouth. Last year, we saw almost 17,000 clients in our client services department. We're doing really great there. Our capacity to grow is limited by our volunteer corps. Clients come to Crossroads and they meet one-on-one with somebody. And that conversation always begins with what brings you to Crossroads. And most people, the answer is a very tangible. I need a birth certificate, I need an ID, I'm hungry, I need clothes. What we've learned in our experience is that is usually the tip of the iceberg. What else is going on? What do you need your birth certificate for? Oh, you're trying to get into stable housing. Cool. Do you have a plan for that? Can we help? Who are you going to do this with? Section 8 housing is a very complicated process. And we've now built a roadmap that we can give to clients that says this is how it works. You're going to get your birth certificate, and then you're going to call this number. And they're going to give you another number, and you're going to call this number. And that's step 3. And at step 3, you're going to want to give up, because this is the step that eats everyone alive. You're going to call every day, and you're going to get a busy signal. And every day, you're just going to keep calling, and eventually, it's going to ring. And this is what you're going to tell the person. And that's power, right? Because we can tell them, you're going to get here, it's going to hit, you're going to know it, but you're going to get through it. Volunteers help make those appointments happen. One volunteer sees 10 clients every day at Crossroads. So that it's exponential when we start talking about impact. When I got to Crossroads, it was a fully volunteer model. The model had been pretty decimated during COVID. We all got very comfortable with our impact across a screen, and so the idea was that we would see 4 clients a day. That was what the staff had decided. They had capacity for 4 planned clients, and then they would try to see people that just walked in off the street. And so every morning at 8 o'clock, our phones turn on, and 200 people would call our number, and the first 4 people would get the spot. And then the rest of the day was saying, call back tomorrow, call back tomorrow. So I sat and talked to the staff, and I'm like, well, what's going on here? Like, this just doesn't seem like a business model. And they said, well, we can't book appointments because we don't know who we're going to have. We can't book 10 people for the day because we might not be able to see 10 people. So I started talking to the volunteers. I said, if you told me that you were going to come next Monday, I could have clients waiting for you. I could have a whole docket of people all lined up to come see you. The volunteers thought that was kind of cool. So we started to build out this schedule where you would commit, and then we would build from there. And like Christ Church volunteerism, we're happy, we're grateful. We're never going to question you when you say, I'm gone in August or I'm gone in December. Like, that's life, right? We want to enjoy life, and we're grateful the time you can come. So that model of re-engaging the volunteers, we're up to about 25 core committed volunteers. Pre-COVID, we had over 100. And so that delta, that's our big work. And part of the struggle is recognizing that our biggest need is daytime availability. And so that cuts out a swath of people, right, that are able to be gone during the day. So we're grateful for those volunteers that can. The other model that we've worked on is recognizing that not every volunteer can commit to an entire volunteer shift. And somehow we had gotten into a model that if you couldn't volunteer for the full day, then we would say don't come. And I'm opposed to that. So now our model is, if you've got 25 minutes, that's 2 clients. Come on down. That's sorting mail. That's folding clothes. There is a 25-minute job at Crossroads. And so that's helping us, because now we can catch people who are between appointments, or people who can take a long lunch or maybe flex half a day and come down. And so the staff, I joke because we call it our little pocket list. When someone shows up unexpectedly, what do we have them do? There's always something to be done. So volunteer, that's one of our big focuses. And the other focus, which lies primarily on my shoulders, is getting out in the community and doing this, and being present and celebrating and talking. I was with the Plymouth Rotary last week, and someone said, what does Crossroads even do, right? Because our name, unlike the Capuchin Soup Kitchen, our name doesn't immediately register what our mission focus is. And so those longstanding partners, like Christ Church, you know because you talk about it and you hold it up in front of people. But getting in front of new groups for this opportunity to say, this is what we do, this is the help we need. Yeah. My little hashtag this year has been stronger together, because that really is it. It's as Kathy Anthony said at the end of the video, if everybody in this system did their small part, then no one has to do the big lift together. So that's what we're looking at.
We can never talk enough about, even to old friends, what we really do at the heart of it. So let's take a little bit of time and just kind of lean into what Crossroads is doing week in and week out for the clients who come. It all starts on Sunday, right? It starts with a wonderful Sunday dinner provided by volunteers. Tell us a little bit about what the experience is and who you're serving on Sunday.
Sunday is, it's a magical day, and it is pure charity. During the week, we collect demographic information on everyone that comes to us. We log their services in our case management software. And while it doesn't cost them monetary money, our clients are giving us currency in data and metrics. Sunday is the day we collect 0 metrics other than the number, and we don't even count clients, we count meals served. And so that, I think, is a big gift to our clients. They get to come and be themselves. No one is asking what their income is. No one's asking their living situation. We only ask, are you hungry? Many of our clients come in from, we are on West Grand Boulevard, and we have, next to us, we have low-income senior housing. Down the street, we have low-income general housing. And farther down the street, we have low-income rehabilitation kind of rehab place. And we have a number of people who will come from those places and pick up tons of meals. They're the able-bodied person on their floor. And so they'll come get 15 meals and go back and be their own version of Meals on Wheels, and take food to them, to their neighbors. We do that. How many meals do you need today? There might be a naysayer who says, well, what if that person is just going to go eat all 5 meals? Okay. They asked for 5 meals, and it's not my place to say you only get. A naysayer might say, well, what they're going to go sell them, or that's between them and their conscience, and it's not my place to pass judgment there. The Sunday meal is provided by volunteer sponsors that underwrite the meal and provide the work, and it's not my place. Like, no one, we just don't put limits on that. It's all there. Our hope is that on Sunday, those sponsors will get out in the dining room and engage as comfortably as they can with our clients. Most of the clients do the takeout meal approach. They come in and then they head out. But we have a large swath that stick around. And when we see people sitting, we try to engage with them. As I said in the video, being poor is very isolating. You're often not seen, or you're ignored. You don't have that natural support group. And so having someone sit at a table and say, how are you today? How's the food? Can I get you some more coffee? That's I think the best gift we can give, because it's the I see you. I see you as a humanity, the namaste approach, right? Like, without question.
So that's Sunday. About how many meals do you serve on Sunday?
Typically, we serve 400 to 550.
Okay. It's the swing.
Depends on what's being served.
Oh?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So yes. So
When do I want to come?
right. Yes. You want to come on a baked chicken day. What is the other big meal? Lasagna. Lasagna is the day we top 500.
Okay.
When we open the doors at 11, there's always a line. The line starts to form about 10 o'clock, and we have a team of volunteers that start serving coffee. We just installed exterior warmers and benches on the outside of the building. So huge gift during these cold months. We turn the heaters on. There's real seating out there, and so volunteers go out and take coffee orders. And so coffee, hot chocolate, water, anything we can do to be kind. At 11 o'clock, the doors open, and there's usually 100 people that come through. And that first 100 people will decide how the rest of the day goes. Because they'll sit down, and we see them on their phones. Good meal at Crossroads. And then at 12 o'clock, we know it's going to be a good day or a bad day. And that's it. And it really is. Word of mouth. So of that 500, 300 are people we see every week. They are the 300 people that have no other option for a meal on Sunday. And so whatever we're serving, it's the school lunch. They're going to be there because the option is to go hungry. Everything above that is based on perhaps you're a family who you're a mom and you're just tired of cooking, right? And we just learned that it's lasagna day at Crossroads. So we're gonna go eat at Crossroads. I don't have to cook. Maybe it's the end of the month and your bridge card is empty. Or maybe it's the end of the month and your pantry is getting a little bare and you've got something going on this week and you need that. So the change between that is a swath of people who could use the help of not having to pay for a meal or make a meal. I think there are those that want to just get out of the house, particularly in this cold weather where we are stuck. The clients that aren't homeless live in some version of a house. They are often squatting with friends, or they have found a building that isn't really being monitored. I have a fantastic anecdote about a client who came in and asked for a lighter. And said, well, what do you need a lighter for? He's like, well, I used all my lighter last night trying to burn some paper in this house I'm staying in. It's like, well, let's start talking about some other options, because what happens if you burn your house down? You know, and he's like, oh yeah, I hadn't thought about that. I'm like, yes, here's a lighter. Don't burn your house down. But there are also clients that we see that are in unsafe situations. And so coming to Crossroads for a meal gives them a destination. They can get out of the house, they can go get a meal. The power dynamics within those that live at and around the poverty line are incredible. You know, we allow clients to have mail delivered to Crossroads because if my benefit check comes in the mail and I'm living with someone who wants a dynamic over me, they're going to get the mail. And now they're holding my benefits and they can leverage that. So no questions asked, you can come have your mail at Crossroads. And that's a safe place for you to get that. So that all of that goes back to the people that we see on Sunday. And it really does correlate. Chef Mariah, when she engages groups, so 4 weeks ago, Chef Mariah reached out to Mother Maureen and said, your date is coming. Here are the menu options that we have at Crossroads. What do you want to serve? And that now comes with, like, if you want to be really busy, we recommend serving lasagna, baked chicken. And then Mariah also has to balance the arc of the menu, right? We can't serve lasagna every week. And so we provide that feedback, and it helps because there are some longstanding partners that have made pea soup with ham chunks for 47 years, and that's the recipe they're going to make. And we're like, but no one's going to come eat that. You know, and they say, well, you know, this is what we do, and then I see it when I get the report. We had 375 people. The other thing that can tell me how Sunday went is tomorrow when I get to Crossroads, the shape of the parking lot. Because people will leave with their food, and if it's not good, it just gets left in the parking lot. Why take something home, right? And so there are all of these subtle tells in the system. And I think going all the way back to your first question, Father Drew, that's another piece I learned. Just the subtle messaging of what the community tells us. You know, we like what you're doing. We like this. We don't like that. When we did a project in our food pantry 2 years ago, there is a food pantry accreditation agency. And so we decided we would do that we wanted to be a gold-rated food pantry. And one of the first things that we had to do was do a client survey on our food pantry. And it was incredible to learn how wrong our food pantry was based on assumptions, right? We assumed that that our clients didn't have access to kitchen appliances. So everything is tuna fish and canned chicken, and we learned that that's not the case. Our clients have access to things, and that they are much more interested in the hamburger helper, the ready-made kind of things, but that they still want to cook. They don't want to eat out of a tin of tuna fish. We learned that they like having canned vegetables. They want those vegetables rather than dried peas, right? The labor-intensive stuff is a miss. But there's that sweet spot where they want to have engagement. They want to own the meal they're making, but they don't want to have to start it the night before, soaking the peas. And then I learned a lot about cultural foods. The African-American population doesn't eat pumpkin. So every November, we have this battle with the pumpkin that arrives. because they are not a pumpkin pie culture. They are a yam pie, a sweet potato pie culture. They are also not a lentil culture or a chickpea culture. That, as a vegetarian, that one flummoxes me. But we finally did Chef Mariah called me, or stopped by the office one day and said, can we do something about the lentils? We are literally dying in lentils. And so we got on the phone and we called our partner agencies, Capuchin, St. Leo's. No one wanted the lentils. So we then partnered, got some recipes of like, hey, this is what you can do with lentils and this is what you can do with chickpeas. And that helped move it a little bit. But we still got lentils. So, yeah.
So from midweek, you've got a couple of different things going on.
Yes.
I'm really fascinated by the work of ID physicians. And I'm particularly interested in what it leads to. Great question. Why do you need it? So tell us a little bit about the barriers, maybe the causes, the barriers. Why are people without money? What are the barriers that they're facing to get an ID? Everyone here has their ID. Everyone here probably has a passport and multiple forms of ID.
Yes.
Right? And so we haven't thought about barriers in a long time. So tell us a little bit about that, and then what an ID unlocks for
Yeah. Very good questions. I like, especially starting with we all probably have our ID on us. I'm going to suppose that most of you have a birth certificate or passport at home, probably in a safe, secure, fireproof place, if you're like me. Now, Crossroads clients carry their entire earthly belongings in a backpack or a plastic bag or a grocery cart. If you're living with someone that's going to rummage through your stuff when you're gone, you learn not to leave your stuff. And so if everything's on your person, things get lost really easily. And that's the number one barrier, is the I just don't have a place for this. We track metrics, and one of our managers, Lawrence, came to me one day and he said, sir, we have a client here, and we pulled their client up, and every 4 months we get a birth certificate for this client. Why do we do that? Because he keeps losing it. I'm like, well, is there something we can do? And he said, yeah, we could hold on to it for him. We could keep that for him. So now we've put a filing cabinet in a locked office, and it's now our library of birth certificates. And when we get a birth certificate for someone, we say, would you like us to hold on to that? We'll file it safe. You have access to it anytime you need to. But this will, when you need it, you can just come get it. Bring it back to us, and we can break this, because it's a 6 to 8 week turnaround time for a birth certificate. Barriers to ID. When you need an ID, if it's within 3 years of your last valid ID, the threshold is pretty low. The state gives you that grace where you can just reactivate it. If it's been more than 3 years, then you have to start proving who you are. That's 3 pieces of mail with your name and the address on your ID. You need your birth certificate. It's got to be an original. It's got to have the raised seal. So most of our things that we do are the birth certificate request, because that's really where it all starts. The barrier that our culture finds in getting their birth certificate is many people in poverty don't know their true birth story. They come to us, I grew up in Detroit, my family's been here, so we send off to Wayne County, and Wayne County says, we don't know, this person doesn't exist. So we bring the client back and we start, and we try never to say you don't exist, Back to being human. But we want to highlight, like, they don't have your birth record. Is it possible you were born somewhere else? And then we start teasing out a story of, well, I have family in Mississippi. Okay, well, let's try Mississippi. And we uncover these stories. Sometimes they're traumatic, right? A mom was escaping a situation. Sometimes it's perfectly innocuous, and it was just, no one talked to me about my childhood. But there's always a little ball of yarn that has to be untangled. And to the best of our ability, we try to navigate the trauma that unearths. But it's always a celebration when we send off, and then when it arrives, we get to call the client and say, your birth certificate is here. There's a new population that we're serving this last year, and it's those, we call them returning citizens. They're people that have been incarcerated. And when you are leaving the penal system, you literally get dropped off on a street corner. And you go from a highly structured life where every decision is made for you to, I have nothing and I have no support system. So this gentleman comes to us to start rebuilding. It's the long process because he's been away for a long time. And we're trying to find his birth certificate, and we're untangling and untangling. And it's months. We've been 3 months with this gentleman. And he's back one more time, and he just starts to bawl. And I just want to go back to prison. This is too hard. This is too much. And Lawrence, who is our just a beautiful person interacting with clients, he says, sir, we're going to figure this out. We're going to keep at it. We're not going to give up. We're not going to give up. 3 months later, so we're now 6 months into this journey, we got to call that man and say, your birth certificate is in the building. And I happened to be up front when he came in the building, and he's holding it, and he looks up and he says, I mean this with all the love, but I hope I never see you guys again. And we all just started clapping. It's like, yes, yes, right? Fly, go be free. And so that's what I want. I want to be there for that celebration, to see that client hold that piece of paper that so many of us just take for granted. I was notarizing a birth certificate request for a mom. And you have to put she's requesting for her child, and you have to put the legal name of the child. And she had to pull up a picture because she couldn't remember the full legal name of her child. Wow, this is a world that I don't understand. And there were layers of profound sadness for me in that moment. But we got it done. We found it. We got it all notarized, and we got it sent off, and she'll probably get her birth certificate for that child. Crossroads also pays all the logistic fees that are associated with that. So it's free to our clients. Anywhere between $12 and $60, depending on what we're requesting and who we're requesting it with.
Because they need something else.
Correct.
What is that? What are those documents opening up for your clients? What are they needing?
Yes, most are looking to enter the government support system. Section 8 housing, SNAP benefits, all of the social safety net services require you to prove who you are. So most are a gateway to that. Secondarily, we have parents who want to enroll students in school. So you have to prove who your child is. When we're talking with these parents, we're like, oh, here's a beautiful child. What do you want? What does your child want to be? Well, I want my kid is going to be a NASA rocket scientist. that is incredible. And I think the first step to making sure that happens is making sure your child is in school every day. And so IDs are school, they're housing. You also have to have an ID to get a library card. Right? So even just these simple places, right, that we think of as big open spaces, there's that barrier, right? Right out of the gate, there's a barrier. The city of Detroit recently brought back the city of Detroit ID, which admittedly doesn't open a lot of doors for you, but it also has a very low threshold of being able to be met. And most of our clients, that is enough. It's got a picture on it, it's got a name on it, they can get a library card. We're seeing a big increase with the talking of real ID and the changes of credentials that are coming. At this point, real ID is only legally needed if you're traveling internationally or entering a nuclear facility. And so when we meet with a client that wants a real ID, we ask them if they intend to do these two things. And most clients accept that that's the threshold and we're done with it. But if a client is just hell-bent on it, then we do it, because that's what we're here for. But we try to educate along that process. By identifying the end goal, the school, the housing, the SNAP benefit, that's where we're able to leverage our knowledge, our collective knowledge. Oh, you want to get into SNAP benefits. Did you know you can enroll your SNAP benefits right here? So when you come back to get your ID or your birth certificate, make an appointment. And we can, everyone at Crossroads is trained as a community advocate with the state of Michigan, so we can enroll on behalf of people. So we can get that all set up. We've got our Section 8 roadmap. We've made some significant inroads with Mayor Sheffield, the new mayor of the city of Detroit. We've now got our secret list of phone numbers. And I feel badly that there are secret lists of phone numbers, but I'm happy to know that I have access to it. And so if we've got someone who keeps hitting a barrier, then we call the secret number. And it's not necessarily a jump to the front of the line, but we've got someone on the inside who can look at something and say, oh, this is the barrier, right? When you go to the Secretary of State for an ID, you are kind of at the mercy of the person on the other side of that plexiglass. And I get nervous when I go in, right? Because it's like I've got all my documents, I've got my manila folder. I'm not going to talk too much because I don't know how they're going to feel about my idle chatter, so I'm just going to stand here and not have my phone out, follow all the rules. And so clients will come back and say, well, they told me I need my high school transcript. And well, that's a tell that you just made them really grumpy. So then we kind of dissect that. Well, did you raise your voice? Well, a little bit, because they were being rude. Okay, well, here, next time, go to someone else and don't raise your voice, right? Like maybe, so just trying to navigate that. So when we've got a big hurdle, now we know who to call. Can you pull up Mr. Jones's application? What's the real holdup? Oh, he doesn't actually have all the mail he told us that he has. So then we'll bring the client in and say, can you bring everything that you're taking to the Secretary of State? We're going to do a fake appointment here together. And that allows us to then say, oh, you only have 2 pieces of mail. Oh, well, I lost the third. Okay, but it did say 3 pieces of mail. So we're going to get that. And then we're going to put it in a Ziploc bag for you. Yeah.
So I'm going to shift, mindful of time, I want to shift to really 2 closing thoughts. First, the history of Crossroads partnerships. Crossroads began, you mentioned Father Clarence, began really entrenched within the Episcopal Church. But certainly, as all organizations have done, it's shifted over the last 55 years. So where are you finding your primary partnerships today? What does that look like?
Yes. In the early 2020s, so just post-COVID, Crossroads formally left the diocese. We were an operation largely funded by the diocese. Our full staff had their pensions through church pension group. And that all came to a head when church pension group did an internal audit and said, we've got these people in our pension program and none of them are clergy. Like we don't have a church for them. And so that brought up the conversation of, on a really high level, what is Crossroads and what is its relationship to the diocese? So we are still tied to the diocese. We have a strong partnership with the Episcopal Diocese, but we are now our own standalone 501c3. That allows us to leverage government grants. And so in the last 2 years, we've now made partnerships with the state of Michigan. And so our funding model now has a whole new column, grant funding from the state of Michigan, which luckily, the way the state funding works, we are somewhat immune from other funding discussions that are happening on a higher level. So our budget doesn't get impacted by government shutdown. That's our largest swath right now. The second largest is partner agencies, United Way of Southeast Michigan, Community Foundation. Those are our second largest groups. And then we get into our partner agencies like Christ Church, other church organizations, family foundations. That is the largest swath of our budget, is the partners. And it goes back to that everybody contributing, right? No one church is saddled with funding us. Everybody is able to fund as they're able to. We're grateful for partners like Christ Church that are generous funders and help balance other partners whose generosity is on a different scale. And then from there is the actual individual funders. That's the piece that got the hardest hit during our mission creep, because I think those are the people that are most closely aligned with the mission. Most of our individual donors have some stake in what is happening at Crossroads. They're a volunteer, they're engaged in the soup kitchen, and so they're boots on the ground, and they want to see their money going there.
So last question is, what is really just an open opportunity? What do you want us to know about the work of Crossroads?
What I want Christ Church and all of you to know about the work of Crossroads is that we need your help on any level of help that you have, be it volunteerism, be it financial support, be it help spread the word. That's what I tell people. The best gift you can give Joseph is helping amplify my message. Help me tell others about the work Crossroads does. No help is too small. No help is too big. No gift is too small. It's all there. And then I think the message about our clients is recognizing that our clients haven't done anything to deserve the life that they live. That it's asterisk. But the overwhelming majority of our clients made one mistake. They married the wrong person. They missed the wrong car payment. That it's, one hiccup and a lack of a support system and everything just unravels. Most of our clients just want to get better. Every day.
Amen. Well, Joseph, thank you for this time. I'm just really delighted to dig into Crossroads. I'm excited for your ministry and leadership, and really grateful for the long relationship and friendship that you have, both to you,
Yes.
but especially to Crossroads. So,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.